now listening to the Arsenal Therapy Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Arsenal Therapy Podcast. Today we're going to talk about Piero Hincapié and why he would be the perfect final addition for Arsenal this summer. At the beginning of the window, an overlapping left back was something that I really wanted to see at the club. And it looks like he could be the man to fill that role. He's someone who plays on the left of a 3 at Bayer Leverkusen, or as a wing back, or as a traditional left back. They do play in a back 3, and we're going to have a look at how he's been used there, and specifically what he would offer to Arsenal if he is to arrive. This is a player with huge talent, huge pedigree, and a very South American aggressive, dogged style of defending that will offer a lot both up and down the pitch. But what does Xabi Alonso say about him? He was a big part of Xabi's team. He was someone who was part of the Invincibles and won the league medal. But Xabi Alonso described him as a very modern defender. He said he can play in multiple positions. He's aggressive, like I said. He makes better decisions when he has the ball, and he backs himself to play diagonal passes and get in behind. That's something that I think Arsenal will really welcome. That ability to get in behind is very, very important. And we're going to look into that. And also the diagonal passes. I've highlighted before the ability that some of our players have to go diagonal and get the ball to Saka very quickly. And I've highlighted Gabriel and Declan Rice as two of those players. Having another player in the team who offers that would be very important. But who is Hincapie? What is he good at? Where do his big strengths lie? So as you can see from this, he ranks 95th percentile for progressive carries. He also ranks 98th percentile for progressive passes. And he's someone who does want to get forward a lot. You look at his stats where he really, really jumps off the page. It's more attacking than it is defensive. Some people will be concerned about that. But one of the reasons I wanted this player is because of his attacking abilities. And what you'll notice from this graphic is he's being compared to centre backs, not left backs. So his defensive numbers will be slightly lower and his attacking numbers will be elevated as a result. So I would take some of these percentiles with a pinch of salt, but I will run through why some of these stats are very important and why they would offer a lot to us. But in terms of his versatility, Alonso mentioned that he can play a lot of positions. So you can see he played a lot of his minutes as a left centre back in a 3, which is highlighted here. He's played very, very few as a central centre back, and he's played around 24% as a left back, and he's also been operating as a left wing back and as a left winger as well. And you can see from his heat map in this graphic from The Athletic that it is very much up and down that left-hand side of the pitch. And we'll get into that, and we'll talk about why he is someone who could be a really important player for Arsenal. But look at his heat map here in more detail. I've brought this one up. This is from SofaScore that has got it a lot more pronounced, and you can see where he's very heavily congested. It's not quite out on the touchline. It's in that half space area, but he does like to get up and down the pitch. That's something that we're seeing Calafiori do a lot more. And Arsenal are getting a lot of success from it because Calafiori is a player that's very, very difficult to pin down. And he roams everywhere. And I am going to look at his game and why adding Hincapie would really help add to what Calafiori is already doing. You can see last season, Hincapie was available pretty much throughout the whole season, started 28 of 32 games that he played in, and the Bundesliga has got less games than the Premier League anyway, but he played 2,670 minutes in the Bundesliga last season. But I mentioned Leverkusen's system about them playing a back 3. They quite often have 2 centre-backs with Hincapie being that free man. You can see him out on the left here, and he drifts forward. He moves ahead of play. Very similar to what Calafiori does when he's playing left-back for Arsenal or centre-back for Italy or centre-back when he was at Bologna. He would go forward and become that free man in midfield, essentially like John Stones did, stepping forward and going into it. And you can see the way Leverkusen have set up here. They've gone into a 2-4-3 or 2-4-3, but in Arsenal's terms, that quite often is a 2-3-5. And instead of the 2-4-4 that Leverkusen have got here, Arsenal would go 2-3-5. You can see Frimpong out on the right. He is sort of playing in between the two lines, but it's very similar to the system that we have seen at Arsenal a lot. So Hincapie is used to playing a very structured, rigid style of football that allows his team to go forward with very strict positions, very strict distances, but also then the freedom when they get into the final third to really play football. And that's something that we're trying to see this year at Arsenal. We hope to see, and I think Mikel Arteta wants that to come into our game. This is an example of that being used at Arsenal. You can see here Gabriel and Saliba making that too. Calafiori, Partey, and Timber last season against City in that midfield as a 3. And then you can see the line ahead of them where they start to go into a 5. This has been going on for a couple of years at Arsenal, and we will no doubt see a lot more of it this year. But it is an example of how both teams play with those layered build-ups. And in terms of numbers, what really strikes me is if you look at the advanced defender template, this is for ball progression in the within defenders under 23 years old. Hincapie ranks extremely highly for ball progression. And you can see the other players that are in and around him. Dean Huijsen, Riccardo Calafiori, Josko Vardiol. These players are elite in possession, and he's ranking very, very highly up there with those kind of players. This is a guy that's incredibly good on the ball, and he wants to move in to very dangerous positions and really hurt the opposition. And that's something that we've got in Calafiori already, but we know that Calafiori is a player that can break down with fitness issues. We also have a player in Madueke Skelly who's very good at progressing the ball, but he isn't a natural mover going forward in the way that Calafiori or Hincapie are. He's someone that likes to step into midfield and operate as a midfielder, as opposed to a player that will advance and go around the outside or pop into that left half space and really cause trouble in and around there. And Calafiori's heat map shows just that. I've mentioned on the show before that Calafiori is a player that's very good at filling the game. He knows when he's needed and he knows when to step forward. And sometimes that in possession, that's a big advantage. Out of it, he can be a bit overzealous. We know he can be caught out, but he dives in. And if he doesn't get his interception absolutely bang on, he can be caught out. We saw it last season with Savinho's goal against City. And that won't be the only time. He got booked against Forest for exactly the same thing on away last season. But Calafiori is a player that will win you the ball going forward a lot because he's so aggressive, so front-footed, and Hincapie is exactly that. He's someone that likes to get really touch tight, and he will back himself to win those interceptions and those aggressive duels. Think duels, think aggression with Hincapie, and think similarities to Calafiori. The big difference is Calafiori will go all over the park. We will see Calafiori go from centre back into left back, but into that inverted position, then right out onto the touchline. Then we'll see him in zone 14, kind of at the edge of the box. Then we'll see him back out in the left wing as an overlapper, then getting into the box and hitting shots. Hincapie is more of an up and down player, someone that does want to get advanced and will go into that half space, but you won't see him in the center of the pitch as much as you see Calafiori. So they are different in that sense. But this is an example of last season against Atalanta in the Champions League. And I mentioned Calafiori's ability to just go anywhere. Here he is going into the center of the pitch, advancing into that center zone of the pitch, right into the number 10 area. And you can see there's 4 Arsenal attackers ahead of him. Trossard's got the ball to play into him. But what's so difficult to pick up here is who goes for Calafiori? That's the question. This is what's so difficult. And I've compared it to Trent Alexander-Arnold before. It's so difficult to stop a right back playing the passes Trent does because you can't man mark him. You can't get really close to him because the nature of the role doesn't allow someone to stick on a fullback. And that's what Calafiori does at Arsenal. He feels when he needs to move forward and he creates havoc. He creates chaos. That can mean he gets caught out at the back. But I would rather have a player that's going forward and creating that unpredictability than a player who at the back is super secure and doesn't really venture forward. With Hincapie, you can see here, this is Leverkusen in the build-up, and he's much more into that centre-back position, and he's, again, you look at the distances, but you can see he is the player that has got the license to go forward. He has got the ability to step out. They've got 2 big centre backs either to the right of him, and they can drop into the 2, as I showed earlier. But this is one of their build-up patterns. And again, you can see all the distances mapped out here. Very, very similar to how Arsenal do it. There's huge discipline. Everyone is in around 10 yards apart. And it allows you to close teams down. If you lose it, it also allows you to get forward and play intricate football and also move the ball quickly with people really moving forward at pace. And pace is something that's a big part of his game. He was capped as the 21st fastest player in the Bundesliga last year at 35.84 kilometers per hour. You look at some of the players ahead of him. Jimmy Gittins is an absolute flying machine, and you're talking 0.12 kilometers per hour faster. He was clocked as being faster than Benjamin Sesko, and we've talked a lot about his pace, how much he would have added to Arsenal if he was coming in, and the sheer speed that he could run at. So the fact that Hincapie is recording faster speeds gives Arsenal something that we don't currently have. We've got some great sprinters in the team now with Gyokeres, Madueke, Martinelli, but having someone a bit deeper who can really go forward with real burning pace will be a big advantage for Arsenal. And that pace is something that's going to be important when the player hugs the touchline. You can see here, this is a build-up pattern. Ball goes out to the right centre-back. Right wing-back is hugging the touchline. And you can see Hincapie right at the other side of the pitch, right out wide, waiting to receive that ball, waiting to go forward. He's almost playing as a left winger here, very, very advanced up the pitch. And again, when you've got Saliba and Gabriel, with Declan Rice and Zubimendi in front of them and Jurriën Timber on the other side, Arsenal can afford to have a left back that really pushes up and gets on, because our left-hand side involves less build-up play. It's more about fast movement, exploiting space. So this is why you need powerful runners and people that are very good at getting into space and really hurting the opposition. Something that we don't do enough. And with the addition of Eze, it's something that we should be able to start doing more, because he's a player that can really kill teams in that space. But if you look at the Leeds game at the weekend, here's a similar pattern where Raya has the ball, Rice comes to get it, and he plays the ball to Jurriën Timber. But what's interesting about this, if you look right to the far corner of the pitch, you can see Riccardo Calafiori. He's out there hugging the touchline, similar to what I've just showed you with Hincapie. He's out very, very wide and very high up the pitch in comparison to his teammates. He's ready for Arsenal to go forward. So having a player in Hincapie who's a more powerful direct runner than Calafiori, and someone who runs very well in straight lines, will just add another dimension to Arsenal. And this gives a complete contrast with Calafiori, because he's such a great player. He's so different to everything that we've got, that it gives Arsenal real options to rotate, and it also allows both of them to potentially be used as a left centre-back. Although for me, from all the footage that I've consumed of Hincapie, I would prefer to see him used as a left-back rather than a left centre-back, just because I find him to be quite rash and someone that could be caught out playing in the pace of the Premier League. The Bundesliga is a very transitional league, but the quality isn't as high as it is in the Premier League. And I would worry against certain strikers that Hincapie would be caught out and potentially get sent off, because he was a player that used to pick up a lot of yellow cards. His discipline's massively improved over the last couple of seasons. And a big part of that is maturity now that he's hit 23 years old. But one of the big strengths, and this is something that I've been talking about a lot, I really wanted to see an overlap in left back. This is him getting into the final third against Dortmund. He gets the ball and he really powers down that side. The ball goes straight into the box and Bayer Leverkusen score. Now, Arsenal haven't had a talent like this for a while at left back. We've seen Calafiori starting to do it this season, and it's causing problems. At the weekend against Leeds, Madueke got to the edge of the box. This happened multiple times in the first half. And on this occasion and one other, around 30 minutes, Madueke slipped Calafiori into the box, and the ball ended up going for a corner on both occasions. But it was him really using his ability to get around the outside and trouble the opposition. And this is what's so beautiful about Calafiori's game. He can go forward, he can come inside, he can go round, he can give you absolutely everything. But the big downside of Calafiori is that he can't stay fit. And that's why a player like Hincapie, who's got a very good fitness record, real powerful running, and can get up and down and do these overlapping runs time after time after time again, is a big benefit to Arsenal. Because Hincapie can't do the things on the ball that Calafiori can do. He's an incredibly gifted technician on the ball. But what Calafiori gives you is just complete flair with both feet and the ability to pass around corners and give the ball all over the park with ease. I don't see that from watching Hincapie. I see a player that's very, very good on the ball, more similar to Oscar Vardiol, but someone who is more wants it on his left foot and wants to get into the left half space and come inside and pass it, or into that left half space, drive forward, or on the overlap, as opposed to Calafiori that will go wherever the game takes his fancy. He will fill it out, but Hincapie is someone, if Arsenal start to go forward, he can absolutely kill teams on the overlap. He will give you straight line running to the absolute maximum at high speed and real power and a determination to get his final ball in. And with some of our signings, that's going to be very important. But it's not just new signings. Martinelli had one of his best games last season against Fulham. And this is the replay of Saka's goal. Martinelli got the ball. Marino went round the outside on the overlap, allowing Martinelli to go into the half space and continue to advance into the box. Martinelli played this pass and he kept running. He ends up backheeling it over the top of the Fulham defender onto Saka's head. Martinelli hasn't had a true overlapper at Arsenal for years. We saw him with Kieran Tierney, but he arguably played his best football when Granit Xhaka was going round the outside of him, or Gabriel Jesus was coming left. And that allowed him to go into the half space. But with a player like Hincapie or a Calafiori, he now has two players that can do that. And we've seen Miles Lewis-Skelly now being asked to overlap more. But I do think that this move could potentially move Miles into midfield with Calafiori and Hincapie taking up a lot of the left-back minutes and Calafiori potentially being used as a left centre-back as well. There is absolutely no reason why you can't line up with Hincapie on the left-back role and Calafiori as a left centre-back and Saliba on the inside. Arsenal are going to have to rotate more, and this gives us real options. Similarly, Miles will still have plenty of options and plenty of football to play at left-back this season, but this really strengthens Arsenal with a completely new profile that we haven't had for a long time. And then there's the other man, Eberechi Eze. Let's have a look at his heat map. So he's someone that I've talked about at length. He starts on the wing and then he comes inside into the half space. He can start very wide, out in the touchline, get the ball and drift inside. And it's that thing of the out to in runs that he makes. He really knows how to venture towards goal where he can really impact the game in the half space and the center of the pitch. With an overlapping runner, we will see probably the best of Eze if he's playing as a left winger. Mitchell at Crystal Palace was extremely effective at doing this. He got out round Eze and gave him that overlap and run. With Hincapie, I just showed you a picture of him making that big overlap. If you've got Eze, that gives you the option of a very good passer that can play him wide and allow Eze to continue the run like I've just showed with Martinelli and get into the box or take it at the edge of the box. But it also allows someone like Victor Gyokeres to get in between the posts and really get in the end of these crosses. Because whilst Hincapie has been a great player at getting beyond and putting crosses into the box, his assist numbers are actually quite low. But with more quality in the final third at Arsenal, you would expect his numbers to really grow. He's really thrived with a player like Florian Wirtz. The two of them had a great understanding, and Wirtz looked fantastic at linking up with him. Eze is a similar type of player. He's not as diminutive as Wirtz, but he's got very different qualities. And he's someone that will really unlock that talent. And also Hincapie will give Eze the tools that he needs to protect him. Because the last thing you want Eze doing is going onto his left foot and having to cross down literally running down the line and crossing from a wide area. That's completely nullifying Eze's game. And if a defender has him doing that all 90, that's where you probably see him being hooked very early. With Hincapie given those decoy runs or a genuine overlap that Eze can play in, that's really maximizing his talent and allowing him to play. And if you look at Eze's chances created last season and his goals, look where his assists are coming. They're all coming in the center of the pitch. And I've showed this graphic before. His goals are coming in and around the box. So edge of the box, inside it. Again, if you've got an overlapping fullback that you can play in, then make your run central. Eze will get on the end of these balls. Gyokeres will get on the end of these. Martin Odegaard's very good at them. Now it's an opportunity for Hincapie, if he arrives at Arsenal, to really up his assist numbers, because Arsenal have players that can really thrive on the end of those kind of crosses. And similarly, with Calafiori, one of the big benefits of this is that he will be able to come in and come out of the team, and his minutes will be managed much more carefully. We've already seen it this season where Calafiori's playing 60, 70 minutes and Miles Lewis-Skelly is coming on for the rest of the game. I believe that this season we will see a lot more game sharing and players completing full 90s less because squads are bigger. We've got more games than ever, and I think Arsenal are scarred by the injuries of last season. And most crucially, we've got the talent to rotate. But I've talked about attacking a lot. I have mentioned him with duels. Everyone will want to know what's he like defensively. He is a player that fits into that elite jeweler category. He ranks extremely highly. And again, you can see Huijsen is in there in the under 23s alongside him. He's someone who is an incredibly strong duel winner. I mentioned aggression. He did used to pick up a lot of yellow cards, particularly in the 21-22 season or 22-23 season. I think he picked up 12 yellow cards. That disciplinary record is massively improved. And he's someone that times his challenges a lot better, but he is someone that does get very touch tight, so he can be beaten in the same way Calafiori can. And with his 1v1 defending, he's someone that is comfortable more than standing up his man, and he's aggressive. He will try and get a challenge in. He wants to win the ball, and he wants to come away with it because he's got the power to continue running after he wins it. But that does mean that if you've got a tricky winger, you can beat him. Again, positionally, because he's aggressive and because he wants to go forward and he wants to hit you on the front foot and he wants his team to go forward, that does mean that space can be created. And if you can get there faster than him and get that ball, you can exploit the hole that he has left. It's a very similar trait to what Calafiori has. But unlike Calafiori, he is going to stay more on the left-hand side than Calafiori, who zigzags all over the park. So in terms of quality, this is a player that has got a lot of similarities to what we've got, but also a lot of differences. And when you compare him to some of our centre backs and our other, I guess, left back in Calafiori, he massively outperforms Kiwior, which isn't a surprise. These stats are per 90. And if you look at what he's very good at, passes per game, very, very high numbers of passes attempted, almost 67 a game. Crosses, 1.3 per game. This is something that I think Arsenal's fullbacks don't do enough on the left-hand side. We don't cross the ball enough. Our right backs do, our left backs don't. It all comes from Martinelli, and that does put more pressure on Martinelli, and he has been criticised a lot as a result. But a big part has been, whilst Miles has been exceptional, Miles has been more threatening through the centre of the park. With Hincapie, he would give Martinelli a very different option. He gives Eze a different option. He gives Madueke, Trossard, anyone in the team a different option, as does Riccardo Calafiori. You look at his aerial duel success rate, and he just marginally outperforms both Calafiori and Gabriel, who are two of the top performers anywhere. So that's an incredible statistic. And this is a guy that also gives you big set piece threat. He can score goals from them because he's got a similarity to Gabriel. He's a tall player at 6 foot, but in the way Gabriel is, he's got a determination to get to the ball, and that's a big thing. He wants to win it. He wants to get a shot away, and he will attack corners, free kicks, whatever it is, whatever dead ball situation is, he will attack it aggressively. But the big one here is interceptions. 1.1 per game, which is even outperforming Calafiori. That's an incredible statistic, and that shows how front-footed he is, how well he times them, and how much he wants to get forward. Because that is the thing that I'm looking for this season with Arsenal. I want to see us go forward. I want to see us really playing aggressively, and I want to see us getting into positions that really hurt teams. We've had a year where we've been incredibly structured. This year, I want to see a bit of the chaos factor. We're already starting to see it. We saw it a bit against Leeds, but things still need to loosen up. Eze's a maverick. He's someone that will bring that. And it takes the creative burden off Martin Odegaard. We've relied too much on that. Having players that go forward and can hurt teams, that is how you win games. We put pressure on our defense because we don't take enough risks in the final third. It means teams get comfortable. And then when they get forward, they do get that sense of belief because there's quite often no goals or a goal in it. And it can lead to us conceding when teams just really get that belief in the game. The more players that we have that can really threaten going forward, but also work hard out of possession and work with discipline will make us a better team. And this for me is the missing piece. This is the final signing that I look at it and you think that really makes sense. He's a player that, as a Kiwior replacement, especially, is someone who comes in and just adds a huge amount more quality. He's the perfect age for a defender at 23, and he's someone with a huge amount of ability to keep growing. He's already kicked on massively in a few years at Leverkusen, and that's only going to grow if he comes to a club like Arsenal that have got huge standards, great coaches, and great players to be playing with. But one thing I would say, this makes competition in the Arsenal backline probably the best in Europe. Then you look at our midfield. Our midfield is absolutely jam-packed with talent. And someone like Zubimendi in there now, who offers a completely different profile to what we've had before, is able to play off both feet. He's a player that will thrive with Hincapie. We've already seen him and Calafiori link up beautifully. But that kind of understanding will really, really help Arsenal. Then you go to our attack. Our attacking line is now incredibly strong. It's gone from being relatively weak a few weeks ago and then the signing of Eze has really, really lifted everyone. Arsenal now have an abundance of players. Our goal is very much to win. I'm telling you now, you don't make a signing like Piero Hincapié if your goal is not to win the Premier League. This is the extra signing. This is the final signing of the window. And this is the one that you make to take you to the next level. Arsenal have set their stall out this season. We want to win. We want to win the biggest trophies. We've prepared ourselves that after last season, we will not be caught out by injuries again. And ultimately, the goal is to bring home the biggest trophies. Arsenal aren't going to sit around and wait for it. We've added a goal scorer in Victor Gyokeres. We've added one of the top wingers in Noni Madueke, this player that has united the fan base in Eberechi Eze. And for me, the biggest signing of the summer, Martin Zubimendi. But Hincapie would make another to that group of really high quality players, also coming in for a big fee, who's coming in with the intention to win and elevate this team. But tell me, what do you think of this signing? Are you excited? Are you another one of those people that's saying, why are Arsenal signing another defender? Or are you someone that's looking at this as a defensive addition that can really help us in the final third? Give us your thoughts. Hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel and ultimately drop a comment and let's have a conversation. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. We will see you again very soon.